Hey, what's happening everybody? This is Silver Sticks here and welcome to a brand new video. I wanted to take a break from my normal reviews and kind of informative, scripted, that kind of content. And I wanted to just sit back and do a little Blu-ray collection for you. I got a lot of movies here and I love talking about movies, so I wanted to give my little brief description of all these that I have here and just kind of show off what I'm working with. Of course, I'm going to move on to getting more and more in the future and make update videos as we go along, years to come or whatever. But I just figured, why not? It could be fun, but I'm not going to waste any more time, and I really don't have much more to say about it, so let's just get right into it. Alrighty, all these movies are going to be in alphabetical order, so don't think any of these movies are rated like higher or lower than others in case you see a movie that you like and you're like, well, why don't you like that more than this other movie you saw? But just don't worry about it. It's all in alphabetical order, which is why we're starting off with 9 and Coraline, the double feature pack. I actually get a lot of these kind of like feature packs where I can get a combo of at least 2 movies because for someone like me who doesn't have a ton of money, it's kind of nice to be able to get multiple movies in one. So even though I don't have a lot of discs, I make up for it in the amount of actual content and movies I own. So the higher the movies, the less discs I have, which is kind of funny, but hey, it makes way for storage, and again, it's just nice to have all these movies. But these two are fantastic, especially Coraline. 9 is pretty fun, don't get me wrong, it's a good adventure flick, but Coraline is so quaint and nightmarish and almost surreal. It's very beautiful and fun to watch, and I can't recommend that one enough. But these two, very fun. Anyway, I really got to move on to the next one because we have quite a few to get through, and can't waste too much time on all of them. Alright, next up we have 21 and 22 Jump Street, 2 of my favorite comedies of all time, and it actually got me kind of introduced to Channing Tatum. Before these movies, I didn't really recognize the name, and from what I'd seen him in, I didn't really enjoy him, but now, every time I see him playing in a movie, that's usually something I'm going to be excited for because he's just a good actor, and these movies really kind of cemented that fact for me. And of course, he's played alongside Jonah Hill, who always does a fantastic job no matter what he's in. He's just hilarious, and you can't go wrong with these. And the fact that they not only made one great movie but made a sequel to follow up with it, that's pretty impressive. And both of these I can't recommend enough. Alrighty, next up we have the movie Air, which I've already actually reviewed on my channel. It was the first movie review I've ever put up, and all I can say is it's pretty disappointing. It stars Norman Reedus, and I just thought it was going to be a lot better. I'm a real big fan of him because I, of course, heard about him in The Boondock Saints and Walking Dead, but not a great film. Not a great film. Can't really recommend it, but it's fun to have in my collection still. American Psycho. My favorite Christian Bale performance still to date, even after all the Dark Knight films. This movie is just so much fun to sit through, and I can really pop it in the player whenever I want, and I'll sit through the entire thing with a smile on my face. I just think that the writing is so witty, it's so funny and horrifying all at the same time, and there's so many scenes that are so quotable and memorable, like the scene where he's got the business card in his hand and he's shaking and he flicks it out. An all-white tint. It's even got a watermark. My god. That shit is just so funny to me. So, absolutely a gem here. Can't recommend this one enough. Alright, another movie I've actually reviewed on my channel already. The Angry Birds movie. This is one of my favorite animated films, which is so funny because it's also a video game film, so both those things are already kind of like taking it down a notch, so it got me worried to watch it, but turned out to be a really hilarious film with a lot of jokes for adults in the crowd as well, and a story that was pretty hilarious. And I honestly can't wait for the sequel to come out pretty soon. Just can't really recommend this one enough. It's a lot of fun. Alright, following the Angry Birds movie, I have the Angry Birds Toons, Seasons 1, Volume 1 and 2. I actually don't think there's any more of the seasons or volumes on Blu-ray, which is disappointing because I found these for both like $2 each, and they're actually really funny little cartoons. They don't have any like dialogue or anything. It's just kind of like meep 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 kind of noises, little bird sounds, whatever. But they're funny little, almost like Happy Tree Friends, but actually family friendly. They're pretty fun, and I like to watch them on like Saturday mornings to kind of be my Saturday morning cartoons, because 2018 doesn't really have Saturday morning cartoons, so kind of gonna make our own, don't we? Next up is Astro Boy. Can't really say too much about this one. It's a very fun, faithful adaptation of him, and it's just a good movie overall. Fun animated film, good action film in general. And I found it for really cheap. Found it at Goodwill for like $3, so couldn't resist. Had to pick this one up. Next is my first in a lot of series that I'm trying to build up over time, but this is Avengers Age of Ultron, and no, I don't know how. I don't have the original Avengers, I don't have Avengers Infinity War, and I don't have a lot of the MCU movies in general, and to be honest, I do know why. It's because if you go to the store, even the original Iron Man is still like $20. That's ridiculous, man. Lower the price at least to $10 for a movie. It's a movie, you know. Well, at least lower to the price of an admission ticket to the movies. I guess it kind of makes sense to double if you get to keep it, but whatever. Still, but I still have a couple MCU films, but this one's a lot of fun. I think it could have been shortened a little bit. Some of the scenes at Hawkeye's house last a long time, but overall, it's a really fun movie, and a lot of the characters are really cool, and they introduce some cool characters as well. I don't want to spoil too much just in case, for whatever reason, you somehow haven't seen this, but I'm sure you have. Marvel is basically like the biggest thing in the world right now, so yeah. Anyway, sort of in the same vein, I have The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which is kind of weird, by the way. The Amazing Spider-Man is like a really big box compared to The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I guess it has extra discs, but it's really just a lot of deleted scenes and stuff. I don't know why they couldn't fit it all on one disc or whatever, but oh well. These are, of course, not in the MCU. These are just the Andrew Garfield masterpieces. I actually think The Amazing Spider-Man 1's pretty good, but this one's pretty bad. The sequel is pretty bad. It's really funny, but it's pretty bad. But I gotta at least recommend him. Next up's a movie I really haven't seen in a while, so I don't want to comment on it too much, but Battle Los Angeles. I remember it not being too bad, not too good. Give it a watch, let me know how it is. I'll probably do the same. Alrighty, next up we actually have two of the best Norman Reedus films out there, The Boondock Saints and its sequel, All Saints Day. These are so incredible. If you want amazing action films, watch these. There's so much like symbolism and comedy all wrapped into one, so much drama, suspense. These movies are perfect, and they really cemented not only Norman Reedus, but Sean Patrick Flanery, his co-star, as actual Hollywood stars. You'll remember Sean Patrick Flanery from, I believe, Saw 3. He's the one who lied and he had to put the hooks in his chest. And Norman Reedus, Daryl from Walking Dead, and we just saw he was in the movie Air. Even though I said it wasn't good, still, it's a movie. Next is another in a series I'm trying to build up. I have Just the Bourne Supremacy. I was gonna buy the trilogy pack with all three, but it costs like $50 at Walmart, and I found this for $3 at it's not Best Buy, but one of those home goods stores. So I just figured, I'll find the other two for $5, $6 on their own, and it'll be cheaper to just buy them that way than the entire trilogy. Even though I do like to keep up with the box sets, as I mentioned, it's kind of nice to keep them all together and stuff. But oh well. I do, however, recommend the Bourne movies. They're absolutely awesome. They're kind of John Wick, Mission Impossible kind of movies. So if you're into that sort of style, like I am, you'll enjoy these. Take my word for it. Breaking Bad. Seasons 1 and Seasons 5, not really for any particular reason, again, just trying to build up the series. I still need 2, 3, and 4, but they're just expensive. It's just hard to keep up with copies of discs that all cost like 10, 15 plus dollars, which doesn't sound like much, but when you buy so many of them, again, it just ends up costing a lot. But this is one of the best shows on earth, definitely my favorite show of all time. At least my favorite live action show, I should say. I actually have this tattoo here and this one here to commemorate the show because of how good it is. So if that doesn't say I like it, then I don't know what is. But just for that fact alone, I think I almost deserve to have them all on Blu-ray. So I really need to collect the last 3 seasons, but again, just a matter of time, nothing big deal. Alrighty, next up is a movie I've actually made an analysis for on my channel, which is the first movie I've ever done that for. It's about 30 minutes long. Cabin in the Woods. This is one of the few movies that I'll give a straight 10 out of 10 A+ for. I genuinely believe this movie is perfect on every level. For every single thing they accomplished, or tried to do, I should say, they accomplished perfectly. It's the perfect mix mash of all horror movies, parodying itself while also making a creative and amazing horror film. And the scene where all the monsters are released, come on, that is cinematic gold right there. But anyway, can't recommend this one enough. Seriously, go out and watch this right now. Next up, we have the 2013 remake of Carrie, which, blasphemy, I know. I actually think is better than the original version, but are either versions of Carrie really that amazing to boast about? They're just kind of like campy B movie horror, but this one I think Chloe Grace Moretz does a pretty good job as portraying the character, and Carrie is just kind of a weird psychological horror movie if you've ever seen it, but at the end it does turn a little more paranormal, but the whole thing is pretty entertaining. I still think the original is a classic, but I do think this version, unlike a lot of remakes, I think this one actually takes the time to go further with the story and just make a better movie in general, I guess. And that's why I'll say this is the one to go for, at least as far as I'm concerned. Next up, one of my ultimate guilty pleasures, Daredevil, starring Ben Affleck. This movie is just hilarious on every level. Bullseye, and then you got the hilarious fight scenes where they'll literally backflip in midair without moving an inch, so they'll just hop and do a backflip somehow. This movie is perfection on a Tommy Wiseau The Room type level. We'll just put it that way. Ugh, perfect. Alright, now for an example of a superhero film done right, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds really poured his blood, sweat, and tears into this film after playing the character in so many shitty movies beforehand, but ever since he finally got his hands on this role, he's perfected it. And Deadpool 2 afterwards was amazing too. And check out this awesome slipcover of Deadpool riding a unicorn. I think I got this from Walmart, and it's pretty dope. All around, no complaints, A-plus performance, and I can't wait to buy the other one as well. Alright, and to follow something that lighthearted, we have something pretty much the opposite. We have the second in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses series, The Devil's Rejects. I actually have House of a Thousand Corpses here as well, we'll see in a minute, but absolutely fantastic series, unless you're triggered easily by, like, gore and really scarily sexual things and whatnot, because it can get pretty hectic. I mean, that's what Rob Zombie's known for, is his shock value in his movies. He's a great musician. His movies can sometimes be hit or miss, but I'm a huge fan of him regardless. But I think this is one of his better movies, and I can't wait for 3 from Hell to come out, which is the third in the series. And if you haven't seen any of these, the characters are so interesting. They're so sick and twisted, and it's just cool to get in the mind of these people, which is interesting. It's something only Rob Zombie can pull off. So I don't really know how to explain this next one. Sometimes I'll just go to the store and I'll see stuff, and if it seems interesting, I'll pick it up, and this is definitely one of those times. This was about $2.50. I found this at FYE. It's called Dragon Wars, D-War. It's got a picture of a serpent of some kind, maybe a bit of a cobra, and a T-Rex, I think. And there's a couple of pterodactyls there. It's a helicopter in the corner, and they're on top of a burning building. Yeah, it's Dragon Wars. Anyways, on the bright side, Doctor Strange. Told you I had a couple of other MCU movies, and this is definitely one of the few that I can say is, like, beyond just being a superhero movie. Similarly to Deadpool, it just kind of goes beyond that, and it just becomes a good movie. The cinematography and the CGI in this movie complements each other so incredibly well, and Benedict Cumberbatch plays the character of Stephen Strange so incredibly well. He just looks the part. He is that character. Similarly to how Robert Downey Jr. just feels like he fits into the Iron Man role, it's exactly the same here. And there's a couple of MCU films like this, Black Panther, Ant-Man, that kind of go beyond just the normal route a Marvel film would take, and those are the ones that I really love the most. So, compliments to Doctor Strange, definitely check this one out. However, on the complete opposite side, we have Don't Breathe, which is actually one of the few horror films that's genuinely creeped me out in the last couple of years. It's very weird. There's some very, very strange and adult scenes at the end with a girl tied up and a turkey baster. I won't go into too much, but you can look that up if you're interested. It is certainly a different type of scene. But pretty much the premise of this one is there's an old guy. He's blind. These kids think it's going to be an easy rob inside of his house where they can find a whole bunch of money he has hidden. So they go ahead and try to rob him. Turns out he has insane hearing and he's like a war veteran and he's pretty much a psychopath himself. So give this one a check out. It's very different and weird and extremely gritty and realistic. So recommended. On a more lighthearted note, we have Earth to Echo, which is actually one of my favorite found footage movies. I think it does it really well. It doesn't have too much of the shaky cam that makes you feel like you're going to throw up. It just kind of has a cool vibe to it. It's very heartwarming, and it's kind of got a Stranger Things type feel because it has a group of kids on their bikes, and they're just trying to save this alien. It's kind of like Stranger Things meets E.T. with a, handheld vibe. So it's pretty cool. I gotta recommend this one, but it's definitely not going to be for everyone. It is pretty kid-friendly, but I do like this one a lot. I have a lot of fun with it. Next is one a lot of people might not have heard of. It's called Escape from Tomorrow. It's a very weird movie. It was filmed inside Disneyland without Disney's permission, so the whole movie was taking place in a couple of days, and you can definitely tell by the way that the actors, the clothes they wear, the way they act and all this, very, very strange, but it's all very surreal because it takes place there, and it's about a dad who starts kind of going insane with his family trip because he lost his job. So he starts tripping out inside the park, and it's very weird, and I don't want to give away too much for this one. If you can get your hands on a copy of it, I might have to review this one day just to show it off a little bit. But if you can get a copy of it, even online, pirate it, do whatever, make sure you check this one out. You will not want to miss this. It says right on the front, a remarkable piece of filmmaking, best film of the year. This is not possible that this film exists. Oh, it's possible, all right, and you should check it out yourself. Alright, next is actually another movie in the series I'm trying to collect for. I have the Family Guy something 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 Dark Side film, which is the second, I believe, in all the Family Guy Star Wars movies. I'm trying to collect them all. I don't know. They're kind of goofy, and they're definitely not the best Family Guy episodes, but just the sheer fact that it's the Family Guy characters as Star Wars characters. If you like the Star Wars movies, you'll enjoy them. If you like Family Guy, you'll enjoy them. So it's dumb fun for me. I'll say it's a guilty pleasure, but I'll still recommend them, and I'm trying to build up on these because they're still entertaining. I can say at least they should have been cut for time. It's about an hour long, but they have a lot of the really worst jokes that kind of run on, like the one where they hit their knee and they go like, tss, ah, tss, ah. They do that for like 30 whole seconds. It's just not funny to me. But overall, they're pretty entertaining, and I'm just trying to build them up. I found this for like $4, so whatever. This next one's pretty strange. Fear the Walking Dead Season 1. I used to be a huge fan of Walking Dead, so I picked this up during that time, but I never really got into Fear the Walking Dead, and I stopped watching after Season 1, so I'm certainly not going to buy any more. So I just sort of have this. I haven't watched it since I watched the first season. Like, I've never opened this, really. I took the plastic off, and that's about it. But, yeah, Fear the Walking Dead. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. I kind of prefer The Walking Dead, but that pretty much declined after Season 5 as well, but what are you going to do? Next up, we have Final Destination 1 and 2. Of course, I'm trying to get the rest of them as well, but these ones are, they're like Wrong Turn. They're like the Saw movies, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, all these horror movies that have about 100 sequels to them. It's going to just be a matter of time until I get my hands on them all, but they're nothing special, They're fun to me. I prefer the one with the roller coaster or the airplane. Everybody knows Final Destination. You pretty much know what the movie is. There's someone who knows that there's going to be some deaths, and then some deaths happen. It's dumb fun, but whatever. You might as well enjoy them. Alrighty, next up is the legendary original Ghostbusters. I unfortunately don't have the sequel just yet. I'm building up to it. I actually found this one for about $5, and then I found the sequel for like $15. And it wasn't until I went to FYE about a week after this showed up to my house from eBay that I found a combo pack for both of them for about $10, which is pretty lame. I guess I could buy the combo pack, but I'm one of those weird stingy people who I don't want two copies of the same movie, and I guess I could take this back to FYE, but trust me, if you take anything back there, you're going to get about $2 for it, even if it's a brand new movie, so you might as well just keep what you have. So building up a collection takes a slow time, you know how it is, but the original Ghostbusters you can't go wrong with. Classic cast of characters, perfect dialogue between them all. It's just one of the best movies ever made. I can pop this one in any single day, and it always leaves me on a good note. Alright, now two movies that are definitely not of equal value to Ghostbusters, but still start with Ghost Rider, and its sequel, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. If you like Nick Cage doing his normal Nick Cage things, like doing his head shit or eating jelly beans out of a margarita glass, then you'll enjoy these movies. And the sequel is made by Neville Dean and Taylor, who are extreme action movie directors, and they make every scene feel like you're really in it. And Ghost Rider is a pretty intense character, so that is a pretty good choice to have them directed. And it makes for a pretty entertaining movie overall, so I can at least recommend these. They're better than Daredevil. Next up, we have the 2014 Godzilla remake. I actually really like this movie. I think it started a pretty good trend. It created the next King Kong movie, and now they're going to be the Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then there's going to be King Kong versus Godzilla. It really made an impact. Good job. And Bryan Cranston does an amazing job in this. The only thing I wish is that there was a little bit more Godzilla in it. It focuses a little too much on the humans, which is a huge complaint in a lot of Godzilla films, so I can't complain too much because it's just sort of the regular, but at the same time, they did do a great job of showing his might when he was there. So I gotta give my compliments to this. It's at least like a high B+. Alright, these next ones are pretty weird. It's actually these Godzilla combo packs I found at FYE. I've been trying to collect these to get all the classic Godzilla films on Blu-ray. Right here I have Godzilla Tokyo SOS, Godzilla Final Wars, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. So we actually got a couple of good ones in there. I actually love the classic rubber monster movies. I just find such a charm to them, and if I can go ahead and collect them all on Blu-ray, that would be awesome so that I can have a full marathon in the best quality possible. But anyway, highly recommend these if you haven't ever checked them out. And you're interested in monster movies, there's definitely better ones than the new ones coming out. If you like something that looks like an actual physical object instead of just CGI. That's why I like the rubber suits mostly. Alright, and just to cement myself some more as a Rob Zombie fan, I have both his Halloween films, but not any of the other Halloween films. That's not to say I think his are better by any means. I still think the original Halloween is by far the best. But I think he adds a pretty gritty realism to him, and I like having the backstory, even if it is simple and it's just, oh yeah, redneck parents, whatever. It's still kind of nice to know more about who we're working with, and Michael Myers is just an interesting character, and I think that Rob Zombie was the right person to put in charge of these remakes, and I don't know, they're pretty good, they're fun, and I like to watch them around Halloween as well. Next up is Hitman. Honestly, haven't watched it. If it's good, let me know. And back to Rob Zombie, we have House of a Thousand Corpses, which is the first of the series that I was mentioning earlier with The Devil's Rejects and following 3 from Hell coming out very soon. This one is extremely realistic. It's about a group of psychopaths who are in this house that these people visit, and one of the people is actually played by Rainn Wilson, who plays Dwight in The Office, so I don't know, if that doesn't get you at least a little bit hyped for it, then I don't know what will. This is a really excellent movie, and this is what got me into Rob Zombie movies. I always loved his music, but this is perfection as far as movies go. But again, he does have a real shock value to his movies, so if you're not really into that sort of thing, or if you get triggered by gross out gross out kind of scenes, or really, really horrific scenes, then I wouldn't recommend it. He does kind of overstep his boundary in either a good way or bad way, depending on how you look at it. Alrighty, next up we have my generation's version of Rambo, John Wick's Chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 3 is actually coming out pretty soon, I'm pretty excited for it, but these movies are just perfection. The directing in it is absolutely awesome, and I love that each of the action scenes is just one long take instead of just quick cut, quick cut, quick cut, quick cut. So these movies are just perfection. If you haven't checked them out, it's definitely, in my opinion, Keanu Reeves' best performance, or at least one of his best performances. I'd even place it above The Matrix. So, 100% check these out if you haven't already, but I'm sure you already have. Next up, we have another double feature. Got Journey to the Center of the Earth and Journey to the Mysterious Island. I love Journey to the Center of the Earth. I grew up on the movie, and I know it's cheesy, I know it's campy, I know the CGI does not hold up at all, but I like Brendan Fraser. I like the dialogue between characters in the movie. I just think it's a fun action movie overall, and I can still sit down and watch it anytime. And to be honest, I feel like we should all be supporting Brendan Fraser right now with the whole $900,000 in alimony because of his evil ex-wife. However, if that's not reason enough, it's just an entertaining film. However, Journey to the Mysterious Island, I don't know much about. I've seen it a couple of times. I'm just not that interested in it as far as, this movie goes. This one just doesn't compare. Dwayne The Rock Johnson does just kind of play himself, and it does just feel exactly the same as the new Jumanji that came out. All of his movies just sort of blend together, whereas Brendan Fraser at least sort of played a character. But again, the combo pack was cheaper than getting them singularly, and this gives me the option to, if I want to ever sit down and watch the entire series, or both of them, I can do just that. Alright, so I know collecting, I have a lot of weird series that I haven't collected everything for, so I have just like Breaking Bad Season 1 and 5, some weird stuff like that, and I know I'm kind of going in a weird order. Just don't be mad at me for them, but you can get a little aggravated for this next one. I have Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World, but I don't own Jurassic Park 1 or 2. I'm very sorry. The trilogy is like 40 something dollars to buy on its own, and then Jurassic Park 1 on its own is like 20 or 25 bucks. I really just need to suck it up and buy it, but I'm really just kind of stingy when it comes to buying movies. I like to stay within the $1 to $10 range, because you can honestly find most of everything you want for that, but Jurassic World I actually was gifted, and I probably would have ended up buying this one anyway, because it actually is a really good movie. I actually thought Fallen Kingdom was pretty good too. I don't know why people started hating him so much. I guess it just kind of feels like the same thing over and over, which is true. But overall, Alan, 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 and it's all right. Alrighty, next up we have two movies that I need everyone to go out and check out right now. The Lego Movie and the Lego Batman movie. I just know for a fact everyone has something they can enjoy about these. If you ever wanted to see Batman fight the Eye of Sauron and Voldemort all at the same time, check these out. I haven't checked out the Lego Ninjago movie. I haven't even seen it yet, so I can't really give my honest opinion on it. Once I see it, I'll probably end up adding it to the collection, even if it's good or not. I just don't know enough about that. I really don't even know what Ninjago is. At least I have something to kind of relate to as far as these go, because this one is basically a giant ad that ended up being the best ad on the damn planet with Will Ferrell. And this is like the best Batman movie you've ever seen in your entire life. Just take my word for it. Go out and check these out. No questions. Right now. Next up, I have the Lord of the Rings collection, the original 3 movies. I unfortunately don't have the Hobbit movies just yet. It's another collection I'm just working on, but what's there to say about Peter Jackson's classic trilogy that hasn't already been said before? It's cemented itself in movie history. It's up there with Indiana Jones, Star Wars. It's one of the greats, and there's nothing really more I can say other than check it out if you haven't already. My precious. On basically the complete opposite hand, I have Keanu by Key and Peele. If you like their sketches and their kind of comedy, check this movie out. It's a full-length version of it, and it stars Anna Faris as herself, all coked out and weird. But not much left I can say. It's about a kitty cat being robbed by some gangsters, and some normal dudes gotta get it back. Absolute win. A-plus movie. Next up, we got Kick-Ass, which is one of my favorite comic book movies. It's a very faithful adaptation, and overall, it's just a very realistic take because it's a world without superheroes where people just sort of go out and put on costumes and try to be heroes and vigilantes in the night. It's a very good performance by Nick Cage, which is pretty weird. Just to go back to the Ghost Rider thing, he can be good. It's a good example of that, and it's also another superhero movie, so he redeemed himself quite a bit, at least in my opinion. Very good movie. Check this one out. If you're a nerd, you'll love it. Alright, next is the best movie of 2015, in my opinion, Mad Max Fury Road. I'm praying this movie gets a sequel. If it doesn't, I would be genuinely surprised because it actually got mass audience appeal. Everybody loved this movie. Definitely one of the best action movies I've ever seen. The cinematography is incredible, and the use of practical effects. Thank you. You don't always need CGI. The explosions look better when they're real. But this Blu-ray specifically, if you can get your hands on it, I recommend it because there's a ton of deleted scenes showing off the different character designs, all the cars they built specifically for the movie, and even the spray paint they put all over their mouth. I've spent a lot of time with this movie, either watching it or just messing around in the actual menus, and I highly recommend it. Next is a series I'm one away from finishing. I have Men in Black 1 and Men in Black 3, which sucks. I actually love Men in Black 2. That might be one of my, it might be my favorite one in the series. But Men in Black 1 is a classic, and honestly, 3, even though it came out way later, is awesome too. It's just one of those trilogies that honestly, I don't think it gets enough respect, but it should be up there with Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and stuff. It's a classic as far as I'm concerned. The jokes are hilarious. Will Smith is hilarious as always. If you haven't checked these out, definitely do. Going back to Brendan Fraser, I have The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. It's actually the third movie in the series, maybe even fourth, not too sure. This is the one that came out later, if I'm not mistaken. And I would like to buy the others in the series, of course. It's just one of those things. Building up the collection. Said it a million times already now. But again, guys, we need to support Brendan Fraser right now. He needs our help. But even, again, it's sort of like Men in Black 3. This one came back after a period of time, and I still thought it was entertaining. Maybe it's just the nostalgia factor, but I don't know. I'm a sucker for these type of movies. Alrighty, next up we have my favorite Jennifer Lawrence performance of all time, Mother. This is a very weird movie. It's a very slow building movie. For the first about hour, it delicately moves it along and builds up this world of just one small house where, to be honest, most of the movie takes place. And it expertly sets up these characters and sets the tone. And through this hour, even though it goes by slow, I've never felt more invested in such a slow scene. And then once it hits that hour point, all hell breaks loose. There's chaos, there's so much going on that I just can't spoil right now. If you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. It is psychotic. Alrighty, the first of two Studio Ghibli films, I have My Neighbor Totoro. I find this movie really cute and fun and lighthearted, and, I'm not a real big anime fan, but Studio Ghibli does make a lot of cool and fun films, and this one always leaves me on a good note. Not too much to say about it, but recommend it. Next up, we have George Romero's legendary picture, Night of the Living Dead. I actually have the 50th anniversary version right here, so it's restored as best as it possibly can be, and it is a very good restoration, I will say that. It looks pretty good on my TV. And that's honestly why I wanted the Blu-ray. It's fun to go back on the VHS and stuff and check it out and have the whole retro feel, but I like to keep it up to date. And honestly, one weird thing is that Night of the Living Dead actually got past the copyright system back in the day, so you can really upload it or watch it right on YouTube right now if you wanted to, but I wanted the full version and support the man, R.I.P. He was a legend. He created what zombies are. And if you enjoy this movie, definitely check out the sequel, Dawn of the Dead, and so on and so forth. But Dawn of the Dead specifically, that's my favorite. The extended edition is about 3.5 hours long, and I recommend it if you're into this sort of thing. Highly recommend the entire series. Alrighty, and the movie that started it all, in 1967, Charleston Heston's Planet of the Apes. This is one of the best movies of all time, and it still holds up today. The effects, the makeup on the ape people, and overall, the ending. The ending is superb in this movie, unlike the remake with Mark Wahlberg, Stay Away, Stay Far Away. But this one is so good and still holds up today. And if you don't know the ending, don't listen to me, just shut off the video and go watch this movie. It still holds up in 2018, trust me. Next up is RoboCop. Not much to say about this one. If you love explosions and blood and guts everywhere, this is your type of movie. It's a real man's movie. Alrighty, and another film that I've actually already covered on my channel, Rocky. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It always leaves me on such a good note and a happy feeling. I love the romance between Rocky and Adrian. I love the fight scenes. It's all choreographed beautifully, and for the most part, it's a lot of one-shot takes. There's not too many jump cuts. so it feels very realistic. And later on in the series, it gets very realistic. There's real sportscasters. The fights are one long take with real punches. If you can check out this one and Creed, those are the two I 100% recommend. The rest of the series is good, but these two, well, those two, pretend I'm holding the other one in my hand, are absolutely flawless. But this one specifically is a classic that I can go back to any day, and it always brings my spirits up. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This is one of the most faithful adaptations to anything I've ever seen. It's faithful to the comic, it's faithful to the video game, which, by the way, fuck Xbox Live and PlayStation Network for taking it off, because it was so damn good. Just because it didn't get the right sales doesn't mean you gotta take it off. That just means leave it on so it can get the sales. More people are gonna eventually find out about the movie or the comic, and then they're gonna want to play the game. That's just how that works. Now nobody can fucking play it. That's not fair. But anyway, this movie is awesome. Awesome casting, awesome dialogue. It feels like you're watching a comic book or a video game, but live action. And it's absolutely perfect. If you love the comic or the video game, you'll love this movie. Or if you're just a nerd in general, because there's a lot of nerd culture just sprinkled in, you'll love this movie as well. Trust me. Next up is The Shawshank Redemption. Not much I can say about this movie without spoiling it. It's very long, but it is one of the most heartfelt and realistic movies I've ever seen. Morgan Freeman pulls off an unbelievable performance as usual, and if you haven't checked this out already, I recommend it wholeheartedly. Spider Pig, does whatever a spider pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't, 'cause he's a pig. Watch out! He is a spider pig. The Simpsons movie. This movie is absolutely incredible. As a fan of The Simpsons, I was so stoked when this came out, and still to this day, it holds up. The animation is flawless. I mean, it just looks like a Simpsons episode, but it still looks like the new episodes coming out. Like, flawless animation. Jokes are hilarious. Every time I see it, I still laugh. I can watch this one any day. If you haven't seen it, how? Alright, next up is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, Spider-Man Homecoming. I just love what they did with this one. I don't consider it Iron Man Jr. or whatever people want to call it. I think Tom Holland did a fantastic job. I think he pulls off a great Peter Parker. I think he just looks the part and he plays it really well. And I can't wait to see what he does in the MCU. The biggest complaint I have is that the little vlog at the beginning he does, whenever Ant-Man turns into Giant Man, he's like, oh, snap, gotta go, because he's vlogging. But in the actual movie Civil War, he says, holy shit, and he puts his hands up. So, kind of a huge continuity error there, Marvel. But still an absolutely fantastic film if you haven't seen this one. Recommended. But considering the MCU is so big, you've probably already seen it. Okay, the next Studio Ghibli film I have, Spirited Away. This movie is really weird. It's very creepy for kids, but it's also very heartwarming. It's just on a lot of different levels as far as animated film goes. And again, not a huge anime guy, but I do love Studio Ghibli. They do such a fantastic job. And if you haven't checked this one out and My Neighbor Totoro from a little bit earlier, those are my two absolute favorites, and I recommend them wholeheartedly. Alright, another guilty pleasure. We have Sucker Punch. This movie is pretty weird. It doesn't hold up great, the CGI is pretty bad, and overall the story is pretty weird. But at the same time, the CGI only really is noticeable during the dreamlike states whenever she goes into her little dances and they go into like different war settings and stuff. But because it's a dreamlike state, the CGI, in my opinion, is a little bit excusable because, in my opinion, that's kind of the point. It's supposed to look like a dreamlike fake world to differentiate between the real and fake world. If you just put them into like a battlescape, wouldn't people just be like, what the hell is going on? You know. Whatever. Overall, Sucker Punch, it's not bad. It's like a C+. But, again, it's very funny, so if you add in, like, the guilty pleasure aspect, I'll give, like, a B-. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. I actually thought this movie was pretty good. I don't know why it gets hated on so much. To me, it kind of goes back to the original adult kind of humor of the original 3 seasons of SpongeBob with the first SpongeBob movie. That's the kind of humor I get from this movie. It's very trippy and weird, and there's definitely a lot of adult humor in here to be had, and overall I just think it goes back to the original style of SpongeBob that we all know and love. most of the three-dimensional on-land setting, it's like kind of the last 20 minutes or so, honestly, of the movie, and the rest is just one really good long SpongeBob episode. Can't really complain about that. I'm sure most people could see this coming at some point. The original trilogy for Star Wars. I unfortunately don't have the prequels, or The Force Awakens, or anything after that. I don't have any of the other sequels. I just have the original trilogy. That's all I have. I'm working on getting them all, but overall, these are some great films. I'm sure everyone's already seen them. It's Star Wars. You can't recommend them enough. They're perfection. Except, of course, because these are Blu-rays, this has all of George Lucas's little remasterings where he'll just add in CGI bullshit all the time, just because he likes it, I guess. This one's sort of a guilty pleasure. Suicide Squad. I know it's bad. Wholeheartedly, I'll admit. I'll be the first to admit it's a terrible movie. There is a lot of fun action, though. I like the characters. I think they casted the movie extremely well. Will Smith, Jared Leto, Margot Robbie. It's just, I don't know what went wrong. You know? The movie feels like one long trailer. There's barely a story. The acting is pretty bad. But at the same time, it's got kind of the same sort of Tommy Wiseau type effect to it, where it's kind of so bad that it's enjoyable, and because everybody collectively hates on it, I feel like it became sort of its own parody in a way, and it's sort of its own legendarily bad movie on its own. So, you know, gotta give some credit to Suicide Squad. At least it's doing something. Most of the DC movies are just straight up boring. This one's at least trying. Now for one of my favorite movies of all time, Superbad. This is when Jonah Hill and Michael Cera were both still like teenagers, and this movie still holds up today. It's got Seth Rogen in it. It's got the little McLovin card. It's got everything you could ask for in a comedy. It's hilarious, especially a high school comedy. I really like that setting as far as comedy movies go, and as far as movies go, it's a good setting just because it's very relatable for everybody, but this movie is just hilarious on so many levels. If you somehow haven't seen it, check this one out immediately. Here's two more comedies I have to recommend to you. Ted 1 and Ted 2. Obviously, I think the original is a lot more funny, but both are excellent films in their own right. I just think it's so funny how Ted interacts with people. It's just really weird, the concept of a teddy bear living in real life. And to compare it to something, I would compare it to the Happy Time Murders just released the other day, sort of with like Muppets in real life, where that movie looks good because it's got the puppets right. This movie feels so much more real and so much more accurate, and the jokes land so much more funny, and it's not just a bunch of childish humor. There's one scene specifically in the second movie with Liam Neeson where he plays his Taken character, and he's trying to get some Lucky Charms or some Fruit Loops, and or not Fruit Loops, some tricks, and he's like, this box says that the cereal inside is meant only for kids. Is this true? And Ted's just kind of like, yeah, man, just go ahead and take it. Okay, you don't know what you've done for me today. It means quite a lot. It's so weird and hilarious, and you gotta check these ones out. Next up is 6 movies, and they're actually all the ones I've been reviewing on my channel for the past like 2 months. All the TMNT films. Does not have We Wish You a Turtle Christmas or the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, but it does have the original 3 as well as TMNT, and then the 2 Michael Bay films right here. All of which I have fond memories of, and I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's a reason I'm reviewing them all on my channel. Can't really say too much because I'm already saying everything I can in the videos I've made for them. I'll link all the reviews I've made for not only these, but the ones I've mentioned. I'll link them all in the description if you want to check them out. But overall, TMNT, amazing series. Flawless, and I hope it never ends. Guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did this to myself. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, you gotta buy all the Transformers movies. I'm sorry. The first one's pretty good. We can all admit that. The second one is straight garbage. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, especially the scene where the parents are eating pot brownies. Ugh. I don't even know what the hell happened in this one. Someone else can tell me. I don't know. And then this is the one that started having Mark Wahlberg in it, and he does even worse than fucking Shia LaBeouf. it's kind of an accomplishment, honestly. But at this point, because I have them all, I just kind of got to keep going. I gotta keep with this strange collection of awful movies that I have, and that's fine. I will say the new Bumblebee trailer actually does look pretty good, but maybe I'm putting my faith in the wrong hands. Maybe. Tropic Thunder, hilarious movie with some of the best casting choices of all time. If you wanted to see Robert Downey Jr. in blackface, check this one out. Wanted. Very cool movie, very weird action movie, but if you ever wanted to see Chris Pratt get slapped across the face with a keyboard so the keys fly out and spell fuck you with his bloody teeth spilling out, and you get to see, of course, the curved bullet, Angelina Jolie, hot as hell in this movie, it's everything you could really want. Going back to TV shows for a minute, I have season 1 of The Walking Dead. I know I have Fear the Walking Dead, but unlike that one, I am actually trying to build upon this and get all the different seasons, at least up to season 5, because after that, it kind of went downhill. Season 6 was really just a build up for season 7, and then season 7 pissed everybody off because Negan. Nobody really ended up liking him, but it's a whole thing I can go into Walking Dead for a while, but Season 1, absolutely fantastic. If there's a reason everyone got into it. And yeah, I'd like to at least get to Season 5. Here's a movie that definitely doesn't fit my usual agenda, I guess. Why Him? I'm normally not the type of person to watch Christmas movies or romantic comedies, but this movie does it really well. Bryan Cranston and James Franco have a very strange chemistry that works really well. It's a lot like Jesse and Walt in Breaking Bad. But like a comedy version. It's pretty funny, and I'm not ashamed to say I enjoy it. Might as well give it a check out. It's worth at least a rent. And last but not least, we have one of the best horror comedy movies of all time, Zombieland. This movie is absolutely fantastic. The characters, Wichita, Little Rock, Columbus, Tallahassee, they're all so much fun. The story is insane. The Twinkies are insane. Everything about this movie is flawless. If you haven't checked it out, I need you to right now. And leave me in the comments how you enjoyed it, because this one is one of my personal all-time favorites. It's flawless. Alrighty, gang, and before we wrap things up completely, I do have 2 more box sets that I don't have actually in the Blu-ray cases because it just doesn't fit, so I wanted to cover those quick. The first one is the Dark Knight trilogy. Of course, comes with Batman Begins, the original Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight Rises. And this is a really great collector's edition. I only got this for maybe $25, and yeah, it comes with all of them. Can't really go wrong with those movies. Absolutely insane Christian Bale performance, and do we even need to bring up how amazing Heath Ledger is? There's a reason people still reference this as like one of the best crime drama movies of all time, and they're Batman movies, People don't see these as Batman movies. People see them as actual movies, not just superheroes. So they go above and beyond by far. Check them out. And the last thing I want to show you guys, I have the Planet of the Apes box set to go along with the 1967 version. The only one I don't have is the Mark Wahlberg version. But all 3 of these are fantastic movies. If you haven't checked them out already, I highly recommend them. It's very different than the Charlton Heston version, but that honestly makes them more interesting. It makes so you can watch every single one of them, and none of them feel similar, or not too similar. They all just kind of feel like they're in the same expanded universe, which is awesome. And these ones are really cool. Really cool. Some very impressive CGI as well. But anyway, guys, that about wraps up my Blu-ray collection video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. And leave in the comments any suggestions for movies that I should get, or any collections maybe that you guys have if you're impressed with, or just kind of, let's start a little chit-chat about movies. I like this. This could be our little hangout video. But anyway, guys, this is Silver Stick signing out. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.